Tense moments after gunshots were fired in the parking lot of Taylorsville High School.
It's scary to think about.
We hear from a student and her mother who were in constant communication as the school was in lockdown.
Community members are still saying no to putting a gondola in Little Cottonwood Canyon. But today, we're one step closer to it becoming a reality.
Right now, mostly cloudy sky moving into northern Utah as our next storm approaches, where we'll see our heaviest snowfall and how low our temperatures will drop.
There's just a lot more aggression than you'd think, and it's so much fun.
The only junior basketball team here in Utah, what it takes to keep up with them.
These are our nieces and nephews. These are the kids next door.
Emotional fervor as two major bills are debated on the House floor.
What are we doing in those other schools that we're not doing in our schools in our neighborhood?
From school choice and teacher pay to a debate on what's best for transgender youth in Utah. Coming up.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
Really upset that students have to deal with this almost every day.
It's happening more and more now, and it's scary. I don't even know how to talk to them about it.
It is a tough conversation a lot of parents are having with their children tonight. How to react when there is gunfire at your school. It happened in Taylorsville today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Bob Evans.
And I'm Kelly Chapman. Tonight, multiple juveniles now in custody after a fight in the Taylorsville High School parking lot led to gunfire. Fox 13 News reporter Chris Arnold joins us live in studio tonight. Chris.
Well, breathe, you are safe. Do they have your classroom door locked too? Yes. Love you too, Mom. Text between a mother and her daughter as those tense moments outside the school unfolded. They shared this terrifying experience with me earlier today.
I was a little freaked out, I won't lie to you.
It was a normal Thursday for Taylorsville High School senior Trinity Reynolds until she says she was walking out of her third period class.
And I heard the teacher start yelling, "Go to your classes, this is a lockdown, it's not a drill."
Reynolds says she was rushed off to her next class.
We were all just like, sitting in the dark.
Taylorsville PD responded to reports of shots fired at the school around 12:30 Thursday afternoon. Police believe there was an altercation between students in the parking lot of the school and a gun casing was found. While the lockdown was in place,
and I said, keep me posted as to what is happening. She said, I will do.
Trinity was in constant communication with her mother, Vanessa McDonald.
I said, you're not scared, right? Because it's okay. She said, I'm a little shaken up.
Through text messages.
Report from Taylorsville is stating that shots were fired. I was sick to my stomach and really worried, but I didn't want her to know that.
McDonald says she was discouraged that she found out about the lockdown through social media.
Pulled up the Granite School District website. I didn't see anything immediately. I went to Taylorsville website, didn't see anything. Then about 1:14, I got the reverse phone call from Taylorsville notifying me that the school was on lockdown.
It was something Granite School District spokesperson Ben Horsley addressed, saying he understands how parents can sometimes get a little nervous, not knowing or understanding what's going on.
We communicate as quickly as we possibly can. Our primary responsibility is to secure the school and make sure students are safe. And so we will always do that in advance of communicating. And we always share as much information as we can.
Officials say 3 suspects have been caught and there are potentially 3 others still out there. Thankfully, they say there were no injuries.
I talked to her at 1:02 originally.
With just 4 months left in her senior year, McDonald says her daughter should be having fun and getting ready for graduation, instead of having to go through an incident like this.
She's got to worry about whether or not, a shooter is in the hallways. The staff locking themselves behind the door and now responsible for 35 to 40 children.
I don't think anyone should ever go through this.
Well, Trinity says she will be back at school tomorrow following the incident earlier today. But she did also tell me she hopes her school and others in the district will take the necessary precautions in trying to prevent an event like this from happening again. Live in studio, Chris Arnold, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Chris, thanks. A decision about putting a gondola in Little Cottonwood Canyon is inching closer.
A committee of local leaders approved the release of a draft transportation plan that includes the gondola.
Fox 13 News reporter Jenna Bree shows us why citizens continue to speak out.
It's famous for its beauty, and I think it should just be kept like that.
Dozens of residents like Sandra Reyes have been vocalizing their opposition to the Little Cottonwood Canyon gondola for months.
I don't think the families are going to want to schlep from their car with 3 kids and all their bags and all their ski stuff up to the gondola and wait for another hour while they get up to where they're going to ski.
The Wasatch Front Regional Council voted to release a draft of a transportation plan to the public.
They're seeing that the public is still showing up on a weekday at 2 o'clock to a council meeting to talk about this issue. These people have lives, they have jobs.
Out of all the people who spoke at the meeting, those representing Ski Utah and Snowbird were in favor of the gondola.
2,500 cars in a parking structure at the mouth, that's every car that parks at Snowbird. That is a massive difference in the congestion.
Dave Fields says residents and recreators are warming up to the idea.
They're starting to realize, hey, maybe there is a better way to get up and down the canyon that doesn't involve me sitting at the mouth in my car. And people are coming up to me and saying, okay, now I understand why UDOT picked gondola.
But Brad Rutledge with the Wasatch Backcountry Alliance says people want more common sense solutions that will solve the traffic issue sooner rather than later.
Alta has implemented this parking reservation system that's had a dramatic change on traffic behavior in the canyon. And now the traffic problems have moved to Big Cottonwood Canyon.
Reyes feels the taxpayers who would be funding this project are still not being heard.
If they're going along with the idea of the gondola, then that means that they're not listening to our comments, and they're not listening to the opinions of the people that elected them.
Starting Friday, Utahns have until February 26th to make comments on the plan, including the plans to build the gondola in Little Cottonwood Canyon. Right now, the estimated cost ranges anywhere from $301 million to over $1 billion. Reporting in Sandy, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
A newly released or unsealed search warrant in the Enoch murder-suicide case reveals one of the Haight family's daughters texted her friend saying she was worried because her father was acting strangely. Michael Haight is accused of fatally shooting his wife, their 5 children, and his mother-in-law, and then himself. Investigators have not specified when the shootings happened, but the newly released search warrant does note some of the family's neighbors had spoken to them the night before they were found dead. Police are searching through the family's electronic devices, hoping to better understand the timeline and find evidence of additional domestic violence.
New at 9, 2 Utah residents have been charged with animal cruelty, accused of abandoning a large number of husky-type dogs in northern Idaho. The suspects have been identified as 45-year-old Jacob McCowan and 31-year-old Jessica Smirtwaite from the Salt Lake Valley. So far, deputies in Bonner County, Idaho have identified 31 dogs associated with the case, but they believe another 5 could still be roaming the area. All were in poor health, as you can see from these pictures. They're currently being treated at local shelters and in private homes.
A silver alert has been activated. West Jordan police are asking you to be on the lookout for 68-year-old Michelle Kershaw. She was last heard from at 2 this afternoon. She's known to head to Jordan Landing or 70th South Redwood Road. She has blonde hair, hazel eyes, is 5'1", wears dentures, and is wearing a large puffy coat. She has high blood pressure, depression, and suffers from alcoholism and is possibly suicidal. If you see her, contact police.
It has now been just over 2 weeks since that avalanche at Bridal Veil Falls, and tonight we're getting a closer look at what the aftermath of that slide looks like. Nick Spurlock, a realtor and outdoor enthusiast, posted these videos from his drone on Instagram. Take a look here. He says the snow is compressing, and while snow is still all over the nearby access road, the slide is not as tall as it once was. Well, here's a look at the avalanche on the day it happened for comparison. The Utah County Sheriff's Office is asking people not to stop along Highway 189 to look and take photos out of concern for safety.
Boy, I tell you, when we get shots of the power of Mother Nature, it really is humbling. Boy, I tell you what.
There is so much snow in the higher elevations, and each day, each night, Allison, we're just getting another layer right on top.
Yes, Alta up to about 450 inches of snow so far this season. Here in Salt Lake City, we're also doing really well for our snow season, our water year. As we look at Salt Lake right now, it's 33 degrees, 29 for Ogden, 30 in Provo, and we have some more snow on the way. So looking across at satellite and radar right now, we've got a lot of clouds across northern and central Utah, mainly north of I-70, let's call it. For the Wasatch Front tonight, because of our clouds, we're going to keep our temperatures right around freezing for much of the night. We do have winter weather advisory starting at 5 a.m. for the Wasatch Mountains, I-80 all the way up to Idaho. All right, so for the northern Wasatch Mountains, this is 5 a.m. Friday to 5 p.m. on Saturday. We are expecting 8 to 14 inches of snow in this area, so we could have some tough drives at times as we look towards Sardine, as we look towards Weber Canyon, Parley's Canyon. We'll have some blowing snow and low visibility, and also we're going to have some winter driving conditions. Main headlines, some areas of fog again tomorrow morning. We've got some storms in the forecast for this weekend, and then very cold temperatures next week. I'll let you know how low those temps will drop coming up.
Two big votes today on Utah's Capitol Hill, where things stand on teacher salaries and school choice, plus the emotional debate over transgender youth.
If Halloween falls on a weekday, should it be celebrated the day of or on a weekend? Coming up, hear from one of Utah's favorite Halloween neighborhoods and why we're asking this question in January.
And a team gearing up for victory, one basket at a time. We'll introduce you to Utah's junior wheelchair basketball team.
The starters and team captains for the NBA All-Star Game in Salt Lake City were announced, and the list includes one former Jazzman.
Welcome back, everyone. You can certainly find a lot of advice about exercise in Women's Magazine, but women aren't part of over 90% of the research. That's because hormonal changes during the menstrual cycle were thought to affect exercise capability, which, if true, could skew the data. A BYU PhD student and former track and field athlete set out to debunk that theory. Her project traced female athletes doing everything from sprints to distance running during 3 phases of the menstrual cycle.
They had a high estrogen phase, a high progesterone phase, and then also a low hormone phase, which is when you're on your period. And we did all of these tests during each of those phases, and we found that the females did not perform any differently throughout any of their phases of their menstrual cycle.
Lindy there says the research shows that women can be included in any study and that it is, in fact, crucial to include them in research.
Hey Siri, write my midterm report on the history of spaceflight. Educators hope it hasn't gotten to that point, but artificial intelligence is presenting challenges and opportunities in the classroom. There are several AI tools, such as ChatGPT, that can answer any question in seconds using AI technology. Weber State professor Alex Lawrence lets his students use it in the classroom with some rules.
It was an epiphany when I first started using it. I thought, what I thought was, this is amazing, this is unbelievable. And then shortly thereafter, I thought, this is the greatest cheating tool ever invented.
To safeguard against AI abuses or cheating, Dr. Lawrence closely monitors when and how his students use it, while finding ways to use AI as a legitimate tool to tap into the massive amounts of data on any given subject.
I felt guilty using Cliff Notes back in the day.
Yeah, the life has changed.
Tonight, we want you to meet the only junior wheelchair basketball team in the Beehive State. They're called the Utah Rush.
Fox 13 News reporter Maithili Gubi spun with the team on the court today and introduces us to the team.
On a basketball court.
Wait, we're with Jackson?
Using wheels to fly.
I absolutely loved it. It's like one of my favorite things to do in the world.
And it's nothing but net. Players on the Utah Rush basketball team play the sport a little differently. Jackson is 16 years old
I got him.
and has been playing with the team since last July.
So it's way more physical, and it's like there's just a lot more aggression than you'd think, and it's so much fun.
The team with 13 to 18-year-olds is recognized by the National Federation.
Switch, slide.
And is the only junior wheelchair basketball team here in the state.
There's always this stigmatism of playing a sport in a chair. You know, when they say wheelchair basketball, there's just, oh, what's that? Oh, come on, it can't be that real. Is it really competitive? And really, it's no different than an athlete, like a football player, putting on a helmet, wearing shoulder pads, you know, wearing cleats or whatever. It's a gear. It's just part of the sport.
Roughly.
Yeah, leave right here.
Adam Lindsay has been coaching for about 13 years now.
See what I'm saying? So you got to stay.
And it all started when his son had an injury and couldn't play able-bodied sports anymore.
Wheelchair basketball is awesome, but too, it's really a tool for a lot, and especially at the kid level, it's to teach independence.
He says the kids move on from this court to bigger hoops.
We've had 4 of our players over the last 13 years go play at the Paralympic level. We've had, I would say anywhere from 10 to 15 players go play collegiate ball and on scholarship money.
And families come out to practices championing their kids.
Just hard work and perseverance in life in general. I mean, gives you something to strive for. Gavin has big dreams of playing wheelchair basketball in college.
I tried to play in a wheelchair with these kids, and it's hard to keep up.
When you come watch it, you'll be addicted to it. I think it's way better than able-bodied basketball, and it's a lot of contact, it's fast, and it's pretty intense.
Come on, Riley.
A community on and off the court.
Mace is out.
My favorite part about like the people is that we all have disabilities per se, I guess. And so you can like relate to people. Like Michelle, my teammate, she also is missing a leg, and that's really cool to like talk to her about her experience in that kind of.
The team is preparing for the Western Conference Championships on February 11th and 12th at Weber State. And this team is one to watch out for. In Sandy, I'm Maithili Gulbi, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Wow.
Utah Rush.
There you go, you guys. Go get them. And Maithili sitting down and going at it with them.
I know.
That
They
is
look
a lot
like a
of
great
fun.
team.
Yeah.
We'll have to get an update on their competition.
All right, well, I think we're totally on board with indoor activities over the next couple of days as our cold temperatures continue. I'm meteorologist Allison Krogan looking at temperatures across the country because we're not the only ones dealing with these frigid temps. Over into Denver, pretty similar temps, 26 right now, 21 up in Jackson Hole. As we look over towards St. Louis, 18 degrees there, 7 for Chicago, 34 for Memphis, 41 in Dallas, 55 currently down in Phoenix. So it feels like 24 here in Salt Lake. Our actual temperature is 33 degrees. Visibility down to 1.5 miles in Evanston right now, 4 miles for Logan, 7 miles for Brigham City. We're going to be tracking again tomorrow morning a few areas of fog. But we're also going to be tracking some areas of snow. We have some winter weather advisory starting at 5 a.m. for the northern Wasatch Mountains, I-80 and further north. So right near Salt Lake City. And then tonight we've got the chance for a few areas of snow flurries also here along the Wasatch Front, most likely around about 2 a.m. for us here in Salt Lake. We're this red line right here, so we'll see some widely scattered snow showers in the middle of the night. And for Ogden, you've got a better chance than Salt Lake and Provo over the next 24 hours. So for Ogden, your chance for snow overnight will be widely scattered for the most part. But then for the morning drive tomorrow, 6, 7 a.m., you start becoming a little more scattered in nature. So some better chances for you throughout the morning drive. Now keep in mind, we are already so cold that we don't need a ton of snow to create slick conditions. And so just take things slow if you end up seeing any sort of precipitation on the roads heading into tomorrow. By 7 a.m., a few areas of fog, primarily Utah County, over towards Roosevelt, West Desert, and up into northern Nevada. Throughout the day tomorrow, we're going to have some chances for snow. All right. Again, keep in mind, we're going to see the bulk of our snow up in the mountains. But with the additional cloud cover, temperatures really aren't going to be too terribly bad tomorrow. It'll be about freezing when you wake up, 6, 7, 8 a.m. And then we could even see some parts of the Wasatch Front climbing into the 40s tomorrow. So cloudy sky, the chance for some areas of snow. For our valleys, we're mainly looking at about a trace to 4 inches of snow from tomorrow through Saturday. Then we'll see a little bit of a break Saturday night another wave moves in on Sunday, and that's going to be a bit stronger and colder second half of the weekend. All right, so we've got some more on the way. But by Friday at 2 p.m., close to about 40 degrees for Provo, Tooele, Salt Lake, Ogden, about 35 to 40 tomorrow. St. George close to 50, and it will also be breezy, so it might not feel that warm. We're going to have temperatures that are cold across the region. And then for Evanston, you're going to have some wind gusting up to about 40 miles per hour. That's going to cause some problems for travel with areas of blowing snow, low visibility. So just keep that in mind across the region heading into Friday and early Saturday. So for Futurecast, the storm drops in from the north. It's mainly going to stay off to our north and east, but we're going to be able to tap into some moisture through Saturday, late morning, and then we're going to see a tiny bit of a break Saturday night. For St. George, close to 50 degrees Friday, Saturday, and then early next week, low 40s by Monday. St. George, your next chance for precipitation primarily late Sunday and early Monday. And for the Wasatch Front, we're going to be about 40 degrees Friday, Saturday. And then next week, very, very cold, the high of 20 on Monday and Tuesday. More on that coming up later in the hour. We'll be right back.
Listen to this. A new report shows rent prices are up in the Salt Lake City metro area despite a slight drop nationwide. Rental housing platform Zumper says the median monthly rent of a one-bedroom apartment in Salt Lake was $1,340 last month. That is up 10.7% from a year earlier. Meanwhile, the national median rent for a one-bedroom apartment was down 0.3% to just below $1,500.
For the first time since early December, Utah's weekly COVID-19 report shows an increase in cases. State health officials are reporting 1,279 new cases over the past week. That's nearly 20% more than the prior week. But new hospital admissions for COVID and ICU cases are down.
Two big votes on some major bills in the Utah State Legislature.
A proposed resolution heading to the Senate could have neighborhoods like this celebrating Halloween the Friday before the holiday. We asked parents what they think.
Coming up, the incredible video of 60 elk making their way down to I-80, why they were here and how crews managed to get them safely back up into Parley's Canyon.
Yes, we have a lot of great snow along the Wasatch Front, but it's a couple of other parts of Utah that are exceeding expectations even more. We'll show you.
The two-time defending national champion Utah ski team close at home today. It's Snowbird. We'll check in with the Utes coming up.
Two major bills came up for votes in the Utah legislature today. One deals with teacher salaries and school choice.
The other has to do with transgender youth. Fox 13 News political reporter Ben Winslow has the latest from Utah's Capitol Hill.
The debate on the House floor got emotional as lawmakers discussed the impacts of the ban on gender affirmation surgery for transgender youth.
For me as a mother and a grandmother and as a nurse, I have a vested interest, as all of us do, in the health and well-being of Utah's children.
These are our nieces and nephews. These are the kids next door. This is your best friend's teenager. And not being able to get the health care they need is in and of itself a permanent and limiting decision.
Many of us feel passionate about allowing parents the right to choose. But then you have on the other side the clear dangers that come with altering surgeries and drugs.
A new version of the bill would also impose a moratorium on hormone treatment for new patients, but without a sunset date. It also allows transgender youth who might change their minds about transitioning to turn around and sue healthcare providers. The LGBTQ rights group Equality Utah fears that will create a chilling effect with no physician willing to treat them.
Parents feel like they've worked real hard to try and care for their youth, and this bill is taking away all the hard work their medical professionals and their mental health professionals have done in the care of their children. This bill is harmful.
The bill passed on a 58-14 vote and goes back to the Senate because it was substituted. Meanwhile, in the Senate, the controversial bill to boost teacher salaries but also impose a school choice program came up for its final vote. it passed 20-8. That is a veto-proof and referendum-proof majority.
I think the short-term raise, all of us are going to like it, but I think the long-term impacts to our education system are really alarming to me.
The Senate sponsor of the bill says he's willing to tweak the program as it's rolled out.
I think we're open to looking at what we can do to fine-tune this and ensure that its implementation runs as smooth as possible.
I spoke to Governor Spencer Cox today, who says he is not planning to veto either bill.
Not planning to veto either of them right now. We'll see if there are any changes made, but right now we're not planning to veto either of them.
Do you feel comfortable with the bills as written?
Well, they're not perfect, but they don't let me write the bills, so.
Now, on the school choice bill, the Utah Education Association, which is the largest teachers union in the state, says it's devastated to see it pass. They will now turn to other education bills still in the legislature. But on this, they are not ruling out the potential for future litigation, saying they are exploring all options. On the Hill, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
A bill that requires golf courses to track and report how much water they use is facing some pushback. In a hearing on Utah's Capitol Hill, the Golf Industry Alliance objected to the bill. A Brigham City lawmaker claimed it was shaming golf courses. Payson Representative Doug Welton says his bill is designed to force conversations about water conservation. The bill was held, which means it is now in limbo.
Today, the Alcoholic Beverage Services Commission approved adding a temporary liquor store downtown for the NBA All-Star Weekend. That store will be in the Salt Palace Convention Center. It will open February 16th, go through the 18th. The hours will be from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. The DABS says having the extra store will improve safety and traffic around the existing downtown store and give visitors an option that's closer to walk to. They say the store will feature several locally made products. The Salt Lake Olympics took place more than 20 years ago. Can you believe that?
Yeah,
the venues were in place, in fact, long before that even.
They need work now to remain world-class facilities, and that costs millions of dollars. Olympics leaders briefed Utah lawmakers today during a request for appropriation hearing.
In the last year session, there was $22 million distributed, and the request here is for $79.8 million to complete 12 projects across multiple counties and city locations throughout Utah.
The money will go to renovate Olympic legacy venues as well as ice rinks in Provo, Weber County, West Valley City, and Salt Lake County. It was recommended to withhold $22 million of the nearly $80 million requested for when the games are actually awarded to Salt Lake City.
Hopefully they're awarded to Salt Lake City.
We're keeping our fingers crossed.
Okay, maybe you've had this conversation with your family. When Halloween falls on a school night, do you celebrate it the day of on the 31st, or do you save trick-or-treating for the weekend?
Good question. Well, a resolution in the state Senate might set a more permanent date to celebrate Halloween. Fox 13 News reporter Emily Tenser went to one of the most Halloween decorated neighborhoods in Utah to ask parents what they think.
You've got Batman and Robin, peanut butter and jelly, and Halloween and daybreak. It's a combination that's become a big part of the culture here. And obviously you wouldn't be able to tell right now, but come October, it's a sight to see.
So if you've ever seen the Disney Halloween Town, that is literally like what our street looks like.
From Stranger Things to Disney's Encanto to Beetlejuice. Thank you. I won't say it a third time.
We saw how hard Daybreak goes with Halloween, and we wanted to be a part of it.
This is what James Pisano's Daybreak lawn looks like all October, and here's what his basement looks like the rest of the year.
And this one is our main host here, Beetlejuice. Yep, and he'll be back again, of course.
As these props wait for their return above ground, legislators hope to squash the yearly debate of when to trick or treat.
Which day are we going to do this on?
Yeah.
when it falls on a Sunday or something, and so that might make it easier. You might not have to have those discussions anyway.
Sandy State Senator Kurt Cullimore proposed a resolution to celebrate Halloween on the Friday before October 31st.
I enjoyed trick-or-treating growing up, so I thought if it was like the night before a school night, we couldn't go out as late, so I think it's really cool.
The resolution isn't legally binding, it's mainly a recommendation.
I'm a traditional person. It's the 31st, so it has to be on the 31st.
You know, I'm just saying keep it the same. Keep it on the 31st.
But when you live in a home like this, Halloween's basically all month.
We're already planning on going a little bit bigger, maybe a lot, I don't know yet, but you know, we already started building some things for next year.
On Wednesday, a Senate committee unanimously approved of the resolution. Next up, it'll go to the Senate floor. Reporting in Daybreak in South Jordan, Emily Tenser, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Coming up, 2 hikers were stranded for 24 hours in freezing conditions in Zion National Park. We're going to show you the dramatic rescue operation.
Plus, we do have some winter storm impacts expected here across the region. What you can expect for travel over the next couple of days, plus the timing of an even colder storm after our next storm.
Caught on camera, 2 hikers were rescued from Zion National Park Saturday after not returning from hiking the challenging subway top-down route. Watch this as rescuers spot them from the air.
I see 2 now. Yeah. Keep waving. I do see 2.
Crews found them using what's called forward-looking infrared, or FLIR. They lowered a rescuer to the ground.
Hey, you guys in here? Okay, hold up. I'm going to try to find my way around to you, okay?
Then the rescuer helped hoist those hikers up into the helicopter.
Oh,
Just a little bit of a swing here. Can you climb it up? You go.
The Department of Public Safety says the pair had been stranded for, get this, more than 24 hours in freezing temperatures. They say one was dangerously hypothermic but is now stable, doing better after being treated at the hospital.
More new video shows the search and rescue operation after a small plane crashed in the mountains along the Weber-Rich County line on Tuesday evening. Take a look at this helmet camera video from the Department of Public Safety helicopter that responded to the crash. The pilot says weather-related issues caused the Beechcraft C-23 to drop. Now the pilot, she regained partial control and was able to land in an open space in the snow. Thankfully, a pretty soft landing for her. She was taken to the hospital for exposure after heavy snow delayed the rescue, but otherwise, she's doing okay.
Wow. Well, this isn't a sight you see every day on I-80. A herd of elk roaming next to the freeway in Parley's Canyon. How crews moved them to safety. Still ahead.
The starters and captains were named for the MA All-Star game in Salt Lake City, and there's a former Jazzman on that list. The Utah ski team competed close to home at Snowbird today. We'll check in with the defending national champions.
Well, there is a lot of reason for optimism about this water year, with the snow in the Wasatch Mountains ranging from 169 to 189% of normal.
That is really something. But there are 2 other regions of Utah with even more impressive numbers. Fox 13 News anchor Max Roth takes an in-depth look tonight.
Southeastern Utah's snowpack is 225% of normal for this time of year, and southwestern Utah is at 238% of normal. And it's getting closer to certain the snowpack will stay in their mountains long enough to make it a great year. The water year has a different shape to it depending on where you live. In northern Utah, an average year would see the snow water storage peak about a week into April. In southern Utah, an average year's peak snow water storage is in mid-March. So in southern Utah, a possibly good water year has quickly become a probably good water year, and it could easily be a banner year for the drier regions of Utah. The San Juan Record newspaper noted this week the snowpack for southeastern Utah is higher than it's been in 18 years, and they even delayed schools 2 hours because of snow on Tuesday, January 17th. On this graph, you see the snow level today is already well above the peak in a normal year. And then go to the southwest, they are also well ahead of the curve and just about 6 weeks away from when an average year would peak. So up north, it's not yet time to say that we're going to have full reservoirs for the first time in years, but in southern Utah, snow stands out the most. The one good water year is not enough to erase a mega drought or to ensure a healthy Great Salt Lake or Lake Powell. In studio, Max Roth, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, take a look at these images of dozens of elk that you can see behind us here in this big monitor. They're back in Parley's Canyon tonight after this herd of about 60 of them wandered onto the hillside near I-80 and South Foothill Drive today.
I mean, it was quite the sight. Can you imagine?
Oh.
If you were driving down the road and saw
it's
this
in all of
herd
this
coming
right
toward
next
you?
to the freeway, yeah.
Wow. Fox 13 News reporter Lucy Nelson witnessed the chaos truly as crews tried to push them safely back up the canyon.
Just amazing. I was like, oh my God, who will I tell? I mean, I wanted everybody to come up here and see this amazing sight.
A herd of around 60 elk alongside I-80 had people standing on roofs and peering over fences Thursday morning to get a glimpse of their new neighbors.
We've lived here 33 years and we've seen all kinds of animals, deer, a bobcat, lots of raccoons, an occasional homeless guy, but we've never seen elk before.
A breathtaking sight, but one Richard Nash hoped was temporary.
We hope they make it up in the mountains. We'd love to see them again next year and hope they're safe and hope they don't ruin anybody's car.
Faith Heaton-Jolly with the Division of Wildlife Resources says it's fairly common for big game to make its way down into the valley, but it's rare for a herd of this size to make its way here.
Our biologists think just because there's been such a heavy snowpack this year, it's just so hard for them to find feed in some of those higher elevation areas and even in the foothills where they're used to finding feed, during the winter months. So they're coming way further down into the valleys.
After a 3-hour effort, crews were able to push the herd by foot, car, and snowmobile up into Parley's Canyon. Jolly says miraculously, without any of the animals or drivers along I-80 injured. Now safely grazing, but leaving memorable hoofprints behind for those lucky enough to bear witness.
Oh, this is the joy of living in Utah, to see things like that just in the wild.
In Salt Lake City, Lucy Nelson, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Isn't that something?
It is. And really, speaking of the joys of living here in Utah.
Oh, yeah.
Cache Valley right now, got some snow on the road there. I also want to let you know that UDOT and the National Weather Service letting us know there are reports of some freezing fog along I-84 at the Idaho border. So just to be really careful out there, some areas are pretty slick, even though it doesn't look like there's a whole lot going on. We are tracking winter weather advisories that have been issued for far northern Utah. This starts at 5 o'clock in the morning, all right? So that's highlighted in purple right here. Off to our north on the other side of the Idaho border and up into Wyoming, winter storm warnings have been issued. But for us here in Utah, 5 a.m. tomorrow to Saturday at 5 p.m., winter weather advisories for the northern mountains, 8 to 14 inches of snow. And one of the primary concerns is going to be blowing snow, low visibility. So just keep that in mind. Temperatures really won't be too terrible heading into tomorrow morning. It'll actually be about 20 to 30 for much of the state, at least here across northern Utah for Provo, Salt Lake, Layton, Ogden tomorrow morning. But for central and southern Utah, you've got a lot of locations still below zero for what it feels like at Bryce Canyon, Cedar at 18 degrees, Beaver at 8 degrees, Torrey 8 degrees, Price 15 degrees, and also for the Uinta Basin, just 5 degrees tomorrow morning for what it feels like. Throughout the day tomorrow, it'll be about 35 to 40 for a high for much of the Wasatch Front. We've got an area of low pressure off to our west. We're going to keep streaming some storms in from the north, and that means they're really cold storms that are moving in. As far as precipitation goes, we were just looking at that camera in Logan, so we've got some snow coming down along the Cache Valley. And then we're also going to end up with areas of blowing snow and that low visibility as a big concern over the next couple of days. And then once our storms clear next week and our chance of precipitation goes back down and our clouds go away, our temperatures are going to go into a free fall. We're going to have really, really cold temperatures. So for Ogden, we've got a storm Friday into early Saturday. Then again, later Sunday into early next week. So we're going to have some more precipitation possible through the weekend. And for Provo, your chance of precipitation for Friday night into Saturday, scattered snow. And then you head into Sunday night, widespread snow for Utah County. And for St. George, you're going to likely stay dry for the first half of the weekend and the majority of the weekend. Then by Sunday night, you're back to some widespread rain, maybe even some snow mixing in. So areas of purple near the Idaho border up into Wyoming, that is more than a foot of snow, a few areas potentially 2 feet of snow. For us here across northern Utah, generally speaking, the mountains of far northern Utah, I-80 further north, 8 to 14 inches of snow. And then for our valleys, we're looking at about 1 to 3, maybe 4 inches of snow. There's a chance that we get skunked here in the valleys. And then as we look at our chance of precipitation here in Salt Lake City and how much snow we could see. I know there's a lot of numbers on this map right here, but this is the most important one on the right-hand side. Those are the different forecast models, and that's showing us we're looking at between a trace and 5 inches of snow. So I think a more comfortable range would be a trace to about 4 inches here in Salt Lake. St. George close to 50 degrees this weekend. Next week, very cold, low 40s. And for Salt Lake City, we are really, really cold come Monday, Tuesday. Look at that, a high of 20 with overnight temps near 10 degrees Monday night and Tuesday night.
Well, the starters and captains for the NBA All-Star Game in Salt Lake City were announced today. The 5 starters in the West are LeBron James, Nikola Jokic, Zion Williamson, Stephen Curry, and Luka Doncic. In the East, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jason Tatum, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and Donovan Mitchell. James and Antetokounmpo are the captains. They'll pick the team shortly before tip-off on February 19th at Vivint Arena. The reserves will be announced on February 2nd. College basketball, Utah playing at Oregon State. Tonight, Brandon Carlson knocks down the 3. Boy, he can shoot it. Ute started the game on a 10-0 run. Then it's Raleigh Wooster with the bucket and the foul. 3-point play. Utah leads it right now 32-16 at the half. Weber State scored the first 7 points of the game against Idaho and they never looked back. Dyson Kohler with the dunk. Then it's Stephen Verplankton for 3. Weber State won at 73-65. In-state matchup between Utah Valley and Southern Utah. Justin Harmon, 3-point play, put the Wolverines up by 3. But it was all Thunderbirds after that. Tevion Jones drives and scores 2 of his 20. Southern Utah pulled ahead to win it 79-67. Utah Tech played at Tarleton. Isaiah Pope made this half-court shot at the buzzer for the Trailblazers, but he needed a 5-point play. That's because that was only 3. The Texans won at 74-72. University of Utah skiers had their first alpine event of the season today at Snowbird. Fox 13's Morgan Vance followed them up Little Cottonwood Canyon to check it out.
14-time national champion Utah strapped on the skis for their one and only event of the season here in Utah, the Westminster Invitational. The Griffins, the only other program here in the Beehive, though they compete in Division II. Fellow Rocky Mountain Intercollegiate Ski Association foes, Colorado, Denver, Nevada, Montana State, Alaska Anchorage, and Colorado Mountain also on hand to take on the Utes, winners of 3 straight titles. And they were shorthanded with only 4 of 8 skiers available, but had enough to win it by a mere point over second-place Denver. Utah junior Madison Hoffman, who tore an ACL a year ago yesterday after making it to the Olympics for her native Australia, won the first run and took silver in the second run to lead the way.
The last couple weeks have definitely been a bit hectic with being out east and then coming back and only having a couple days of training before these races, but I guess it just shows all the prep we did, and it's been really exciting just having the whole team back together now that the college season has started.
As for the men's slalom event, that will take place here at Snowbird tomorrow. Morgan Vance, Fox 13 Sports.
The Utah ski team, they've won the last 3 national championships.
Wow.
Oregon said 14 overall, so they're very good.
Well, they've got a
Very
good practice facility.
Yeah, that's good terrain, good place to be good.
Thanks, Jeff.
We'll be right back. Thanks for being part of Fox 13 News at 9.
QuickCast is next.